All right, let's do this. Welcome along to another episode of the Square Go podcast. This camera. Another episode, Sandy.
Yeah.
Is that?
How did we make it this far?
Do you think it's gone too far? Maybe.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah. I'm starting to think it's a joke that probably has run its course. So welcome along to the last episode ever of the Square Go podcast. I'm here with, I'm your host, of course. I need no introduction. The man I just referred to as Sandy is also known as Alexander, son of Hender. Yeah. Which is contextually relevant, I think. And we're delighted to welcome back Jack Fox and Charlie Parker to the Square Go podcast. If you didn't see the episode about Chaos Rising, then we'll put a link to the Chaos Rising video in the description, and we'll put a link to the episode probably. So you should watch this episode first, then you should go and watch Chaos Rising, and then you should watch the episode about Chaos Rising.
Definitely.
Yes. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life, but just maybe
maybe subscribe as well and like comment and stuff, because I know so many of you watch and then don't like and comment and subscribe. Anyway,
you need to tell them.
It's not my
entry. You need to tell them you did it right.
Smash the subscribe button,
because otherwise
guys.
they don't know.
Yeah.
Now they do. And if they've not done it, well,
we'll come and find you.
We'll find you.
And these guys know a lot of people with big weapons, so
well, hello. Whoa!
And we're off already. So we're here to talk about fantasy films, and we're better to talk about fantasy films than the place where fantasies come true. We're in the VIP lounge of the venue. On Charlotte
Very
Street.
magical.
I need to do a bit of a shout out to mixologist extraordinaire, culinary genius, and nightclub proprietor Ross Anderson for letting us use this space. And also, I need to point out as well, we're missing our third co-host as well. So Steed is still locked in a Brazilian museum, unfortunately. They've mistaken him for someone that they can get a ransom out of. But you might find that he pops up at some point during the episode, so keep your eyes peeled. Steed's a bit like that. So
they've sent us one of his dreadlocks in the post. A threatening letter.
We informed him that we only had 4 working mics, so he decided to join a punk band and go to South America. So.
But it might not stop him from contributing. So so we are here to talk about fantasy films, which also means we should probably point out we don't have an Adrian Smith with us as well. I kind of feel sort of retrospectively bad. Adrian's obviously a very busy man and also wasn't invited. So, but of course he knows he's welcome anytime. But he is very busy. I think as long as we talk about Excalibur and Conan the Barbarian, then
we're definitely talking about Excalibur.
That's
in
fine.
fact, I was gonna wait till later on, but you're talking about this being the place where fantasies comes true. This looks like Excalibur. We've got some green light.
Yes.
We've got this ominous green light and the green glow. This is we're in a
plate armors.
in a John Boorman movie right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So fantasy films. So I don't know. Ever since Georges Méliès took us on a trip to the moon, people have been making films about fantastical places, fantastical creatures, and events that are fantastical. So we're going to pick our top 3. Obviously, that's our format. We've got time for some honourable mentions, and I also have a little quiz. So obviously, Jack and Charlie are back. It's been such a long time since we had you on the Square Go podcast. I think it was in the same place as well.
It was in the same. From what I remember, I think it might be the same building.
And I'm sure you've been up to quite a lot, but we don't have time to discuss it right now because we do have a stacked episode. So
we don't care.
Yeah.
Yes, we don't give a shit.
We're going to crack on. Let's go for a top pick. I'm going to hand over to one of our guests, Charlie. Give us a fantasy film that is in your top 3. It doesn't have to be number 3. It could be in any order.
Right, this one is going to cause. It's not going to cause controversy. It's just some people just misjudged it. It's new. It's the Dungeons and Dragons movie, Among Thieves, because I think they absolutely smashed it out of the park, and I haven't seen a fantasy movie that has made me feel that good in ages.
It's a fun movie.
Yeah. It's
I love this movie. Yeah, totally.
I've rewatched it 4 or 5 times. I actually bought the Blu-ray. I haven't bought a Blu-ray in ages.
Oh my God.
Like,
Physical media.
I was like,
Physical
I'll
media.
buy a Blu-ray. And I did it. And I've rewatched it because, it's so fun. And for me, it hits all the notes of a fantasy movie that I personally like. I love stuff that's interweaved with comedy, for example. And fantasy is such a good genre for comedy. There's so many like prime fantasy movies that have like comedy is like the partner genre that comes with it, and D&D is such a perfect universe to do that in. And I think that movie in particular encapsulates what it feels like to play the tabletop game as well. I feel like they got the mood completely right. Yeah. The tone is completely right throughout the film, where it's a little bit serious. There is some sincerity to the backstories and things like that. But if you don't care about the backstory, don't worry, because we've got jokes.
Yeah, there's a ton of charm. I went in with low expectations
for sure.
Watched it with my kids, and we all loved it. And we've all watched it again a couple of times.
I think it
Jarnath
came
and
out.
I.
I think it came out just at the right time because we just started playing D&D for the first time.
Yeah. For us, not for them.
Yeah, not for them. For us, we just started playing it, and this film came out, and it was like, this is like perfect timing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a sequel, I think, isn't there?
Oh yeah, they're definitely making a sequel.
They have to.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those that didn't do as well as they hoped in the theaters, but since then has become a bit of a.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a cult classic. It should just be a AAA film that did well. But
Have you seen this?
No.
No, I kind of suspected you hadn't.
You notice I've been quiet. It's becoming my catchphase. I've not seen that film.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard good things. And Chris Pine is growing on me quite a lot.
Aye, he's good.
I used to think he was just hot and nothing much else. And then he
Just
did
a big,
Outlaw King.
dumb, hot actor.
Yeah. And then he did Outlaw King. And now he's
one of those sneaky ones. He's a bit like McConaughey, where he's, at some point you thought he was just for rom-coms, but actually he's
a prestige actor.
He is a cool actor. He's just very pretty.
Yep.
But he also likes interesting roles as well, and you can tell that by his recent choices in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially I loved him in Outlaw King.
Yeah, Outlaw King.
Yeah, really good.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Wet Hot American Summer. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen
yeah,
that, but I've seen the trailer.
He's in
It's
that.
cool.
He's in To Hell or High Water. He's brilliant in that.
Star Trek as well.
Obviously.
I love you, Chris.
Okay, yeah. That's a good pick. I approve 100%.
Yeah, good pick.
Jack, let's move around to
Is
you.
this point-based? Am I winning?
It's not. No.
There's nobody wins.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to lose points
we'll
when I
just
do my
lose.
quiz.
We'll see about that. Well, the funny thing is, when you asked me to get fantasy picks, I went onto Letterboxd and I was like, right, let's look at fantasy. And I was like, my God, it's like a massive genre.
Yeah.
Like so many movies fall into the fantasy category. I was like, I need to try and kind of limit this.
Yeah.
So I limited it to swashbuckling, period set, sword and sorcery kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I think.
that's a fair move.
So one of my picks was Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
Well, I'm glad someone picked it.
I mean, it's the quintessential
can't get a
fantasy
break.
movie.
Obvious.
Obviously.
Yeah.
It's amazing. What else can I say about it? It redefined the genre. It made everyone love fantasy again. It opened everyone up to, Tolkien's work, obviously, and then from that we had Game of Thrones and everything. So
It's an absolute masterpiece. Yeah,
it's a masterpiece.
I have a very specific memory about Lord of the Rings after watching it. I didn't know anything about it. I went in cold. It came out the same year as Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And I remember being in school, and I remember none of my friends went to watch Lord of the Rings because they hated Harry Potter so much. And I had so many arguments as a kid with people like trying to get them to go watch Lord of the Rings, and they wouldn't watch it because they're like, nah, it's gonna be like Harry Potter. It's gonna be crap. And
Meanwhile,
like
probably
Harry Potter,
to
man.
this day, I despise Harry Potter. And
all right. Well, you
Philosopher's
can
Stone.
just. I
Meanwhile,
like
lots
Harry
of kids probably went to Lord of the Rings because they loved Harry Potter and they were like, oh
Yeah.
my God, what is
Potter. What
happening?
is this dark, horrible, scary movie? But no, I love it, and also obviously Peter Jackson coming from such a bizarre background, making I don't know if you've seen his early films, Brain Dead, Bad Taste.
It's not a trajectory,
incredibly
is it?
creative, but just so tonally different to then come and do something like Lord of the Rings and just knock it out of the park. I learned that after the fact. So I grew up watching Lord of the Rings. I think it came out when I was 10 or 11.
Right.
And then maybe a few
God,
years
so
later,
old.
How old are you?
watched.
How old are
I
you?
am 35 this year.
Oh, right.
35
Okay. Similar. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, what else can I say about Lord of the Rings? It's amazing. I would put the whole trilogy in there. I kind of just count it
I
as
was going to ask, like
Lord of the Rings.
I think Fellowship probably is my favorite film.
It's my favorite one.
Yeah.
For sure, and it sets everything up, and the characters are amazing, and the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I watched that recently again.
Everyone
the
loves it.
3-hour
Oh, yeah.
documentary or whatever it is.
And that's what it was. We're back in the day when we were watching movies. There wasn't YouTube. There wasn't a lot of this behind the scenes stuff. So we used to watch DVD bonus features.
Yeah.
That
And
was
that's
our
kinda
YouTube.
how. Yeah, that's
That's
where
our
we-
YouTube. You'd leave it playing.
that introduced us to filmmaking because we didn't learn any of this at school.
Yeah.
I used to go when I was at school. It was like, I want to do that. I want to do special effects and monsters, and they would be like, don't even know where to start. Great idea.
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
Thought about joining the apprenticeship.
Genuinely, I went to a careers guidance counsellor at my high school, and she said, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And I said, "I want to work in creature effects and animatronics."
That's exactly what I did. Yeah, they just looked at me blankly, like,
Yeah.
Go away.
Media studies. Yeah.
yeah,
They
thanks.
checked their sheet and
Yeah.
they were like, "Nah."
So Peter Jackson and the behind the scenes of Lord of the Rings was my film school when I was.
Yeah, I mean, I love the scale of it. I love the the amount of. Actually, I was at a ranch in Spain a few weeks ago where they filmed a lot of the spaghetti westerns.
Oh, yeah.
Called Fort Bravo, and we went into this big warehouse that was just full of like props and leather stuff, and there was loads of saddles, and they were from Lord of the Rings, so they provided
That's cool.
the saddles for it, and I was just like, this is just in the back of a warehouse somewhere.
Just sitting there.
But yeah, I
I'll
like,
go and sit on this.
yeah.
You could sell that for quite a lot of money.
I think he bought his horse, didn't he?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
But yeah, the scale of like the amount. I remember watching the behind the scenes thing. They were talking about all like the flagons that they made for the Prancing Pony.
Yeah.
And you watch that scene and you don't really see any of them.
No.
Like,
The
they're
amount
there,
of
but-
detail that went into those movies is insane. And when I look at it, I'm still stunned that they were able to make that movie with the budget they had. I mean, they made the 3 movies back to back, or in a row.
Yeah.
But still, all the weapons and the costumes, so much work, and it pays off. So that's why it's one of my picks.
I'm lucky enough to have been to Weta Studios, and
That's cool.
the reason I went and lived in New Zealand for a bit was because of Lord of the Rings.
Because
I
you're a
was
hobbit.
obsessed with it.
Okay, interesting.
I wanted to go to all the locations and blah blah, and they were working on the costumes before Harvey Weinstein had funded it. 4 years before, they were making the costumes in the hope that it would be funded.
Where
So
did they get
Quite a bit.
the cash flow? Where was
I've
it?
no,
Was it
I don't know. I don't
off
know
the
if it
back
started
of
as a
Steve Jackson's
passion
previous
project
movies?
or
Mysterious place.
well, it would be strange, like you were saying, for Peter Jackson to make the films that he made. Fair enough. What was the one about the ghosts with Michael J. Fox?
Oh, the Frighteners, yeah.
That was kind of big budget,
Yeah.
but then someone to see them, a studio to see them, and be like, "Yeah, we'll give you like
Blackjack?
£300 million." Yeah,
I think he just pushed and pushed and pushed.
Yeah.
Because I think he was trying to do King Kong for so long, and then that fell through.
Oh, right enough.
I think that was with Universal, and then it fell through, and then he pushed Lord of the Rings, and he just persevered. I think he obviously got into the business side, and there's things I learned about the political side. I think he kind of sided with New Zealand politicians, and that helped him out. And then obviously all the tax breaks and things that went into the
He
production.
changed the infrastructure of filmmaking
did
so he
change.
could make that film.
He did, and there's people that like that, and there's a lot of people that are very unhappy with that. But that's a whole other topic, and I don't really know that much about it.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
anyway,
I think
he
the
made a great movie.
New Zealand tourist office are very happy with what
They are
Yeah,
very
yeah, I
happy
think
with
they-
Hobbiton.
They think that was pretty cool. That was
In the
a
Shire.
cool move, Pete.
they got Sandy.
Yeah, well, I did the math
go.
on it. I think
Yeah.
it cost me £80 to go in there
Aye.
and get my photo taken at Bilbo Baggins' house. And I think I'd worked out that they were turning over, it was something crazy, like 800 grand a week.
Those pesky hobbits.
Just churning people through that place. Yeah.
Jesus.
But it was when I was there, the tour guide was talking about Peter Jackson and the location scout / DP coming down to that farm. And they were like, yeah, so they just sat and watched the sunset for 3 months just to see how the light would be and that. And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
This is my
I
job.
want to be a DP location scout. What is that job? That's the job I want.
Yeah.
It was that moment for me where I was like,
I wish I could introduce you to my careers guidance counsellor. Right, okay, so Sandy, do you want to give us a pick?
it's the Two Towers.
Brother, what serendipity.
Next one.
Just stay on the same
Just to
vein.
continue this conversation.
I've got an interesting little thing that I wanted to talk about. That's to do with Lord of the Rings, actually, and it's I don't want to.
Return of the King.
Yes, it's called Return of the King. It's the third movie. It's my next pick now. It was a video essay that I saw. I don't want to go too far into what the video essay says because people aren't watching that. But they were talking about the character of Aragorn and how he's the perfect masculine and he's the perfect representation of what masculinity is supposed to be before Jim Bros got invented. And it's like this really interesting thing where they talk about the fact that he's super protective, but he's allowed to cry when his friends are dead and things like that, and he's got all these, he's allowed to display his emotions, but he still shows strength. It's really interesting video essay. I think it's worth watching from a writer's perspective because it's a really good take on how to write a male character that's so rounded that he feels, you can connect with him emotionally, but also be like think he's a badass, but also be everyone fancies him too. It's
You
like,
feel safe when he's on screen.
yeah,
When
totally.
he turns
yeah.
up, you feel safe.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
could
He's,
have been so different with Stuart Townsend as well, because he was originally.
Right, yeah.
oh, really?
cast,
I didn't
yeah.
know that. That's
And I
interesting.
think he actually went to New Zealand and stuff as well, and they maybe screen tested him. Or
And then he went and did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Great choice.
I did not feel safe during that movie.
No,
At no point did I feel safe watching that film.
yeah.
I thought you were going to mention when he broke his toe kicking.
Oh, yeah.
oh, classic trivia.
I think you'll find
that's
that
a
we're
meme,
a
yeah.
little bit classier than that.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this podcast.
Right.
Just
Stoop
remove
that
that
level.
question from the quiz.
Yeah.
So for me, the thing that sets that one aside, I've not rewatched them in a while, but it's just the battles and
Yeah.
the practicals and all that,
Oh,
and practical makeup, and
Yeah.
It's incredible.
and the banter was pretty good in that one. I believe the humor was cranked up a notch as well. I don't know if it was to balance out all the killing for the families
There's
that
a
were
lot
coming
of
to see
killing.
it,
There is a lot of killing.
because it was a Christmas film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about on the Christmas episode. It came out every Christmas.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the last event film that I remember going to see with the family. Is like every year we're going to see another Lord of the
Same.
Rings,
Yeah.
or every two. But I
We
don't
see it
think.
every
yeah.
Christmas
Yeah, I
Eve
think that's died out
for the 3
a
years.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's got quite a bleak ending, doesn't it? Really, because it ends. But I mean, they end triumphant in battle, but they still end with the hobbits not in a good place. from what
Yeah.
I remember.
Well, Gandalf just comes out of nowhere, as is a running theme. He just comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like that when a film doesn't end on like a nice
Yeah,
resolved happy end.
Well,
I like a bad end. I like a
Yeah,
horrible
it's
ending.
the sort of Empire Strikes Back kind of.
Yeah, and it keeps you wanting more.
Yeah, and after 3 hours of sitting in a theater, I was always just like gutted that it was over.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how good it was.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
totally. That and Pirates of the Caribbean were those films where I went in with basically no expectations, I guess. I just kind of didn't know what it was. I don't think I watched the trailers or anything. I just went and sat and watched this
God, I
film.
remember the days where you'd never seen the trailer,
Yeah.
and you could just go in and watch a film and not know any of the,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
spoilers or anything like
And
that.
just come out with
fresh.
Yeah, a completely fresh
Crazy.
story for me. I hadn't read the books or anything. I knew nothing about it. And then just came out going, Jesus. That was an
What was that?
experience, yeah.
Experience. They were experiences. Yeah.
I think we're going to go over to Steed, live from Brazil.
Oh my word.
Do I need headphones for this?
No, I think we're going to. Yeah, we'll get them piped into the studio.
So when it comes to my number one spot,
Whoa! Close.
the Holy Trinity Church, what better place to start off with? My number 3 pick. My number 3 pick is 3 Survival Island. Kelly Brook. I mean,
Kelly Brook.
what kind of fantasy is that? Being stuck on a desert island with Kelly Brook? Come on.
He's having a laugh. All right. So Steed's picked an erotic thriller.
Yeah.
With Kelly Brook.
Did he know what fantasy didn't mean his own personal fantasy?
Well,
Sexual fantasy.
we're going to find out with his next 2 picks.
yeah.
Oh my word. I have
We can
not seen
only speculate on.
that movie.
He's misunderstood.
Message for that clip. He says, "Tell them during that
I woke up.
What?
there was a homeless couple off screen, and the whole place stank of stale piss."
All right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, it makes sense now.
You know what? That's really cleared it up. For me.
That's the sort of detail.
It's
that,
it's the next best one to Return of the King, in my opinion.
Oh, without
Can I have the
without
graphic
doubt.
back, please, Gary? Did I read the Billy Zane?
Yeah, Billy Zane. I
yeah,
know
this
of
is,
this film.
I know of it. I've not seen it.
Yeah.
You know of it? I've never. Kelly Brook.
What is it? They're
I mean, obviously, I remember Kelly Brook.
But I'll speak to you offline.
so they're on an island and they need to. And what does she bang? Billy Zane or what?
I'm
wasn't
going to
it?
assume.
I've got to say, as a host of this podcast, I'm at a loss because I can't ask Steed. If
I know.
We don't know.
The live feed
We're just
has
going to
been
have to
cut.
assume. Let's tell you what. Let's just make up the plot
It was
ourselves.
part- So the main funder for this film was Nuts Magazine.
I was going to say.
Yeah, it was like a collaboration between
I think
Nuts.
was this
Mag-
Kelly Brook's only film role?
Technically speaking, isn't pornography fantasy?
Well, I know. That's
that is
that's what I
the-
assumed that Steed's went with this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
That's a film that was made by producers. They went, let's get a babe on an island and go write that film. That's what happened.
Was it directed by Danny Dyer or something?
No,
I mean, it wouldn't surprise
Come
me.
on now, Danny Dyer's a bit better than that. Directed by Yui Boll.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Cool.
Billy Zane, though.
Let's move
So
on.
yeah,
I feel like I should have watched it. The poster's fine.
We spent 10 minutes talking about how we don't know what it is.
we
Let's
don't
move
have
on.
any clips from it either. But
Let's move on and talk
clips.
about stuff that's interesting.
I'll maybe put a clip in just for the audience at home.
Okay.
So yeah, my number 3 pick is this is me really showing my age here. It's Jason and the Argonauts
Oh, yeah.
from 1963, I think.
Well, I know why you love it
Not
for the
why you do
effects.
know it,
For
yeah.
Ray Harryhausen's
Yeah.
amazing
Yeah.
effects. Yeah, absolutely.
They had recently there was a Ray Harryhausen thing at the Museum of Modern Art in Edinburgh, and they brought the tears of the Hydra,
yeah.
or the teeth of the Hydra, to this museum, so you could go. And that for me was like meeting your heroes. Like if Ray had been there himself, that would have been even better. But
Yeah, I missed it. I really wanted to go. A couple of friends went to it. They're stop frame animation animators, so obviously it's right up their street.
yeah.
But I grew up watching this movie.
Yeah.
The skeleton fight is fantastic.
That's it. It's all about. I always grew up watching it, and I always grew up kind of knowing, no matter like the story was a bit incoherent to me as a kid. I didn't really know what was going on. I knew he was after a golden fleece, and
He's
I knew,
after the golden
Yeah.
fleece, man.
and that was about it. But I also knew that no matter where you started watching it, you would probably always see the skeleton fight because it's right at the end.
You get the skeletons.
after the
Try
harpy.
to think what, because I always get that mixed up with like Clash of the Titans and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so the skeleton fight, that's Jason the Argonauts. The golden fleece. What are the
There's
others?
the
The
Talos.
owl.
So Talos is the giant kind of iron.
The big iron
statue,
dude.
Yeah, that comes
Yeah,
to
I
life.
saw the model for that advertised at the event actually.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's,
Yeah.
it's amazing to see that as well, and that's probably
Amazing film.
one of my favorite sequences as well, because the way they're kind of walking around this plinth, and then the head just turns, and you hear the kind of screeching of metal and stuff. It's and Talos, they had the not Talos, the
That's Clash of the Titans.
yeah.
That's Clash of the Titans.
So Clash of the Titans, I learned, was like 1981 or something.
Yeah,
so
it's
there's
a
a
lot-
massive gap between.
Oh.
But they
that
tried
and
to
what
make
was
it
older.
look like
Yeah.
Jason the Argonauts.
Yeah, it's a classic, Greek kind of thing. The Harpies were in Jason and the Argonauts, and the Hydra as well. So there's a few monsters, and there's a few kind of big things appear.
That's a
But,
good pick.
but yes, it's just that sense of wonder, and the creature work by Ray Harryhausen.
And it's
Phenomenal.
filmmaking techniques that'll never die.
Yeah,
Because, I
Yeah.
mean, regardless of budget, that's what you want to strive towards, stuff like that, because it just looks better anyway.
yeah.
There's a charm
They-
to it.
Yeah.
You say they never die, but they kind of like. I feel like we've got derailed at the moment in terms of CGI taking over, and I was saying this to you, Jack, the other day. This is probably a wrong film to reference for it, but Robin Hood Men in Tights. I was watching that.
It's a good movie.
It got to the
The lack of
credits.
CGI.
It got to the credits, right? So there is effects in it, and the stuff that happens is like flaming arrows, and there's like, there's a few things that happen in it. Not the most effects heavy movie, I'll admit, but got to the credits, and the credits list for special effects team was 5 people.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's actually quite a small team for the size of movie this is. I was like, that's quite impressive. And then when you look at CGI credits on Marvel movies,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like
It's all outsourced.
500
Yeah.
names.
Well, that's pretty much the same as the early ILM.
Yeah.
If you watch,
Yeah.
there's a great ILM
Yeah.
documentary on Disney, and it talks about the early days, and it was literally just a group of people in a small studio just making cool
Making
stuff.
models and
It
And like
makes-
Spielberg would just spend most of his time in there just making cool stuff for
It
them.
makes me wonder though, like, obviously they're kind of obsessive with using CGI for everything at the moment, but it's like, is it actually cheaper?
Is it cheaper? Yeah.
Is it cheaper? Because if you're using 500 people
It's
instead
the-
of
it's the-
5 dudes,
It's
who are
the
really good at
process, it's the workflow, the studios
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah.
You could go out and find a small effects team that is like 4 or 5 guys, and they probably do an amazing job.
Yeah.
It'd be a big work, a large amount of work for them.
Yeah.
But that's on the small scale. If you go with a big effects house, there's all these hoops that it's become so bureaucratic.
So it's like the SAS versus 100 conscript soldiers.
Yeah.
That's the,
Maybe-
that's
maybe
the-
tons
that's
of
the
feeling.
methodology we're using
I'd
here.
much rather go with a specialized unit.
Yeah.
We've obviously mentioned Lord of the Rings, and that was probably my good cue to do my quiz, but I missed it. So
A Lord of the Rings quiz.
yeah, well, kind of.
Is it a
right?
Lord of the
So-
Rings themed kid quiz?
So the quiz here is
here we go.
I've got a bunch of names, and I want you to tell me if they are Welsh towns or if they are Lord of the Rings elves.
Yeah, I've heard about this one.
God,
Yeah.
all right,
And
okay.
to be fair, I've thrown a couple of curveballs as an ent in there, and there is maybe a human or like a mermaid type person.
Right.
All right, so
Selkie.
Angrod. Do you want them spelled out? Angrod.
Lord of the Rings character.
Angrod. Lord of
I'm
the
going to go Welsh Town.
How does this get pointed? Do we have to remember?
It should,
I
but
don't know winners, only losers.
I'm going to go Welsh Town as well.
it's an elf. Angrod is the elder brother of
Oh,
Galadriel.
elf. I forgot there was elves in there. Right, okay.
All right,
Didn't sound-
okay, you're on board.
This is the other option.
It didn't sound,
guessing, like,
it didn't
this
sound
could literally-
dwarven
Yeah.
to me, okay?
Bethesda.
That's a
That's
company.
a games company.
That's Welsh. That's Welsh
Which
Town.
means it's a Welsh town.
It is a Welsh town, yeah. That's 5 miles south of Bangor. Caruthin. Is that
That's a Welsh town.
C-U-R-U-I.
That's a dwarf.
F-I-N.
That's a dwarf.
That's a Welsh town.
That sounds like a character.
That's an elf. It's the father of Celebrimbor, who forged the 3 elf...
Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor, sorry. Glewelyn.
Welsh Town.
That's Welsh Town.
I mean, it sounds very Welsh.
It does sound
Yeah, it
Welsh.
might
but
be a
it might be an
curveball.
elf.
It's actually a tree. It's a golden tree. It's another name for Laurelin. I don't know much about Tolkien's golden trees, so forgive me for that one. Corwin,
Elf.
Yeah, elf.
Elf.
town in Denbighshire.
Damn it!
This could be anything.
That's how these games work.
Gallagher.
Elf.
It sounds like a grand elf.
That's a town in Caerphilly with a population of 18,000.
Tolkien, up your game, man. You got to start stealing from the Welsh.
All right, Fladriff.
That sounds
don't
like
even
a
know anymore.
dirty word in Welsh.
God. I
Yeah.
don't know. A
Yeah.
town.
Town.
Dwarf.
Ent.
And
But yeah,
Oh,
fine.
these damn
Tolkien
man.
character.
are there dwarfs in there, or is it just elves and ents?
There aren't any dwarfs.
Oh, I'm just saying dwarf then, for no reason. Perfect.
McKinleth.
McKinley.
That's a good name.
That sounds like a place in Scotland.
Yeah,
It does,
Braveheart character.
Is it a place?
I'm going to say
Everyone's-
Welsh town. Welsh town.
It is a Welsh town. It's a market town in Powys. Right, I'll give you 2 more. Let me pick some good ones here.
Macaulay.
Maedhros. Maedhros.
Yeah,
It's a town.
Wales.
Town.
Elf. One of the princes of Noldor, apparently. Gilraen.
Elf.
Yeah, elf.
Elf.
Tolkien character, mother of Aragorn.
Yeah, I think I got 2 right.
Yeah.
I didn't recognise
bad.
any of
Not
these
bad.
words.
2 out
Yeah.
of 20.
I guess you can just take Lord of the Rings off my list then, because I just don't know.
I know nothing. I've never been to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. So, Charlie, give us another pick from your list.
So the second one, there's 2 and 3. Do we have to go in order of the ones we picked, or does it
Nah,
matter?
I've not been doing that.
Gary will he'll magic up the graphics. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll go.
on it.
Number 2, I remember now. I went for Willow.
Nice.
It was if you
I
asked me
approve again.
literally a week and a half ago, I wouldn't have said Willow because I've kind of forgotten it existed, and I've found it again. I went, oh yeah, and I've watched it and forgot it was one of those movies I watched over and over as a kid.
Yeah.
Val Kilmer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah. 35
Yeah,
now.
so Willow's an interesting film. Have you seen it? Have you all seen it?
No,
a
for
long
ages.
time ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
since I
You'll
was
see
like
it.
a kid.
Okay,
Yeah, to be fair, it's
That's
been
got
long
some
since
pretty
I saw it.
cool stop frame animation in it
It's-
as well. I think it might be.
You know what? The effects are
Phil
cool.
Tippett though.
The effects are cool in it.
Yeah.
The story in it is cool, and there's like the approach to it is more genuine in my opinion because they cast dwarves as dwarves in the opening scene, and it's probably like the most dwarven
village.
actors I've seen on screen at one time. And I know it's a controversial subject at the moment because of the new Snow White movie and whether or not they cast dwarves as dwarves was a big topic. And I was like, looking at this going, man, this must have been such a huge casting opportunity at the time because obviously dwarf characters don't get cast that often in films for many different reasons. But this one, there was just so many of them. And it turns out that was the inspiration behind the entire movie. George Lucas wrote that movie for the main character.
Right.
Had he
Warwick.
worked? Did
Warwick
he
Davis.
worked with Warwick Davis
Warwick Davis on Star Wars.
on Star Wars?
Yeah.
And then they did Willow.
Yeah, because George Lucas
Yeah.
couldn't just pull that movie out of his ass
No,
unless
no,
he had
yeah,
made Star Wars, which he had.
He made such
So,
a good
right,
impression.
I'm going to write
Good
whatever I want and I'll make it. So he went, I'm going to write one for you because it's hard for dwarf actors to get roles. So he wrote one for Warwick Davis, and then that's what Willow was. So it's turned into this big, a pretty big production. It's pretty,
Yeah,
it's
from
pretty
what
cool.
I remember, I need to rewatch it. From what I remember, I distinctly remember that opening sequence or the village, and then I remember the big stop frame animation monster that's kind of like a rancor. I can't.
Yes,
remember.
yeah,
like
it's
a big
two-headed
beast and
thing.
It's like tearing apart. A
It looks
castle
just
and
like a
stuff.
Rancor's face,
Yes.
but twice.
They probably just reused the model. From,
I think it's the exact same
they
model.
just reused it. But yeah, from what I remember, it was a cool film. Val Kilmer, obviously.
Yeah. It's
a great
very high fantasy. They just go for it.
Yeah.
They just absolutely go for it, and it's a
High
lot of fun.
fantasy. Yes,
They
it
made
is a high.
they made a
fantasy.
series for it, and it got retconned immediately.
and
Yeah.
deleted from existence.
yeah, which is a
Thanks,
weird one.
Disney.
Yeah.
It's a strange one.
But that was one of the staple movies for me growing up was Willow, because it was always on, and I'd always watch it, but I'd always like tune in halfway through because it was on TV. So again, you try to piece the story together in your head.
It was almost like a sort of golden era. Oh, like I remember it being like a golden era when I was a kid of fantasy films that came out.
Fantasy adventure,
late 80s, early 90s kind of.
I look
And
at
sword and
pre
sorcery type
and
movies as
post
well.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That's pre
Yeah,
Lord of
yeah.
the Rings
Yeah.
fantasy, and
Yeah.
a lot of films
It's
fall
really
into that
good for
category.
pre-Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it is very good for
Yeah.
pre Lord of the Rings, and then obviously after Lord of the Rings, it all changed and it became dark and serious.
Yeah.
And whatever else. But yeah, it's one of the better ones from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
All right, Jack, give us a second film.
So next film, you actually touched upon it briefly, but Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, nice.
I actually chose Dead Man's Chest, second one. I really like the first one.
Controversial.
Again, it's like Lord of the Rings. I count them as like a trilogy, the Gore Verbinski ones anyway. And the second one, I think, just takes everything they did well in the first one and elevates it, especially the visual effects.
Yeah, Bill Nye.
visual effects.
Bill
are
Nye
wild.
is
Yeah, Davy
as
Jones
Davy
just
Jones, phenomenal,
Yeah.
and just incredible visual effects that everyone seems to look back and remember the golden age of VFX. It's just because they were really good at what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it
Golden
was a
Age
good
of
team.
Disney as
The
well.
guy that was actually going to be playing Bill Nye's.
Really?
He was
Who's
one
he
of the
gonna be?
guys that was going for an audition. Tom White, who was in Braveheart.
All right. So they were looking for a Scot,
Yeah.
and then they cast Bill Nye doing a Scottish accent. He does a fantastic Scottish
Yeah, he
accent,
does.
by the way.
Yeah.
I love it, especially
also
the way
it's
he
Bill
says Jack. Like it really comes across like that. It sounds like somebody's saying my name.
Yeah.
So that sounds like somebody I know. But no, I love that movie, and it's just peak swashbuckling fantasy.
Yeah.
Again, like Lord of the Rings, took a genre that had kind of died out
Yeah.
and just reinvented it, and
They threw a Kraken in there as well.
they
which
threw a Kraken in there.
can't go wrong.
And because up until that point, pirate films had kind of gone off the rails.
Yeah. You know what? Pirates of the Caribbean, this is another memory as a kid of subverting expectations when a movie comes out. Pirates of the Caribbean, I remember the posters going up and seeing Disney written on it. And I remember when me and my mates getting worried that Disney are making a Pirates film. And we're like, at the time, Disney hadn't gone outside of the comfort zone. They hadn't made anything that wasn't super cheery, super positive.
Yeah.
So I thought they were going to make this really wank pirates film that had cool pictures, and then went into cinema. I came out and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "Disney have actually made the right move for
The new movie from Disney. It's wank with cool pictures. No, it's I'm trying
But
to
it
think
wasn't
of a
wank,
Disney
and that's
film.
important."
It definitely isn't wank.
And it's out of their comfort zone because it was dark. You know, people dying in the like black.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
it's not the
scary.
particular
Maybe
movie I'm talking
again.
about, but-
What was that graphic there? When did the first Pirates come out?
2006 was that one.
Again,
so.
maybe it's another post Lord of the
2004 or
Rings.
something?
Let's
Yeah.
take fantasy and make it
Dark
dark,
fantasy.
dark and
It was just a ride at Disney World, eh?
225 million. Jesus Christ!
So it's an original concept.
yeah,
yeah,
And
and then they just filled it with amazing storytelling.
and
Gore
maybe the last
Verbinski-
time.
it's such a good director
did
though.
that.
That's that, and obviously Jerry Bruckheimer coming in. But
225 million.
I think this is going to be a theme. You're talking about fantasy having like comedic elements and stuff, which I also like. But a theme with the films that I was choosing are directors coming to the fantasy genre that have cut their teeth doing horror. So Gore Verbinski obviously did
Peter Jackson.
The Ring, which is fucking terrifying, scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, and Peter Jackson coming from horror. I love fantasy films that incorporate a large amount of horror into their action, and it just makes it raises the stakes and it makes everything more tense. Sam Raimi is another film. director that does
Also, it's
Well, I've got a pick for you then.
All right.
My second film is Pan's Labyrinth.
There you go.
For the same
Just
reason.
jump in the
because,
queue. Aye.
Well,
That
you
is-
know,
that
I'm the
is
host. I get to do it.
darkest fantasy. Yeah,
So we go, aye.
also from
But
a,
yeah, it's
15 million. Oh my word! I didn't realize it was that
Crazy.
cheap.
Yeah.
from a fight directing background that we've now immersed ourselves in. Pirates of the Caribbean movies are like a masterclass on entertaining fights. They've kind of taken what Princess Bride did and injected it with steroids,
Yeah.
like just making these like fantastical, insane fights, which when it comes to conceiving a fight scene, because it's in my brain, because it's not dialogue driven or storytelling, I find it quite difficult to visualize without being with a fight coordinator and like talking through what to do physically, because I'm not a fighter myself and I need to like learn from them. I can't even imagine how you start to consider that scene where they're in the massive mill wheel rolling.
A lot of
Fast
planning,
fighting,
a lot of effort, but it's visual storytelling, and set piece leads to set piece leads to set piece. So first they're fighting in a barn, and then they're fighting on top of a roof, and then it keeps moving.
And it's like
forward.
a knot that's tying and then untying and tying, and
everything's
with all the
connected.
different characters.
It sets up, and then there's payoff. It's great. Sorry, but yes, Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah, because
fantastic
I'd seen Kronos, I think.
Kronos is
not
amazing,
realizing that. I didn't really connect the dots between that and Pan's Labyrinth when I first saw Pan's Labyrinth. But yeah, and it's quite dark. It's quite bleak.
Yeah, especially that scene where he gets his face smashed into the bottle.
Yes.
Oh my word.
Yeah, there's a few tormenting
grisly.
scenes in it. What is the rating on it? Is it 18?
I thought it was
It's a 15.
I think.
It's a 15. I went to see that at the cinema, and I'm pretty sure I was under the age of 15. I'm pretty sure like our friend's mum bought tickets, and then we snuck in.
Yeah.
Can you add a
Snuck in some Pan's
fairy tale,
Labyrinth.
but,
Jack getting jailed?
But it's a fantastic movie, and yes, again,
Yes, please.
directors coming from horror,
Yeah.
injecting that horror element into fantasy, and I think it works so well.
Yeah.
2006.
But yeah, that.
Oh no, 2006. I was 16.
Well, again, though, it's post Lord of the Rings. It's dark fantasy
Yeah,
coming
dark
in,
fantasy.
kind of kicking in.
The thing that always stands out in that movie and a lot of Guillermo del Toro's stuff is the creature design and how
Yeah.
cool and like
Fantastic.
interesting it is.
Apparently, he
yeah.
just carried a sketchbook around with him.
Sketches of
Yeah.
him,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he came up with those himself.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
it's cool.
And they all look like Doug Jones.
Yes.
Conveniently.
Yeah, I for me, like for the Goodman, when it's finally finished, people would watch that, and the pics of Jason and the Argonauts and Pan's Labyrinth
That's what you
would
want,
make
yeah.
sense as a kind of seeds that sort
That's
of
what you want in the
inspiration.
Q&A. When you're doing the Q&A, and you want somebody in the audience to go like, "Oh, I noticed that looked like Jason the Argonauts."
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Did
what
you?
you
Yeah. Well,
Oh, wait, but what's that T-shirt you're wearing?
oh,
Hey!
There it is.
This episode is sponsored by the good.
all right, Sandy, I skipped you there.
That's all
so
right.
Give us a second pick.
So, yeah, I've gone with it slightly different on this one. It's animated. It's anime. It's Princess Mononoke.
Oh, nice.
Get out.
Nice.
What? Just something different. I wanted to talk. I mean, it's a story that's been done a million times. It's Avatar. It's Pocahontas. It's
The Studio Ghibli didn't even pop in my head.
It's,
like for picks.
it's one force trying to destroy nature, another force trying to save it. That old tale as old as time. But I just love the forests and the artwork, and it's a stunning film. It's a
I've not
beautiful
actually
film.
seen it. I've not seen it. No.
I'm not huge on anime.
It's because
I'm not huge on
hot take.
anime. But,
I don't watch. I don't hate anime. It's just
have
the
you not
art
seen
style,
it
the frame rates can be a little bit jarring.
Studio Ghibli's the only anime I approve of.
Yeah.
I've not
word,
watched a
Have
lot
you
of
not seen
anime.
Akira?
Oh yeah, manga.
Oh, that's fantastic. Those frame rates are.
I tend to stay away from anime for the, the little schoolgirls.
There's no schoolgirls
that's
in
You're thinking of hentai.
That's hentai. It's different.
That's the thing.
I believe.
That's Steed's next pick.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Is a lot of people paint.
Hang on. Wait a
paint,
minute.
paint
Let me Google that.
a lot of people paint all of anime under one brush, but it's the same as saying I don't watch Lord of the Rings because I don't like Coronation Street, because that's what that type of anime is. It's like trash TV anime, but this stuff is the creme de la creme. It's made by the true artists. So it's,
I've heard it's very good. Maybe I'm just not in the right state. I'll watch it eventually, and I'll be in the right mindset, and I'll just love
what I like
think you will
about the Studio Ghibli in general. I know you say that one's been done to death in terms of story, but usually what happens is when you watch one of those movies is you can't predict what's going to happen. It's you think it's going one way and it goes a completely different way, and not even a way that you had on your list of ways it could go. It's just like, how could you predict where this movie is going? And that happens in almost all the Studio Ghibli films for me. I'm just like, what is happening? I'm having fun.
Yeah. It is mental. Like it's completely mental.
I think this is a great time to move from Studio Ghibli to whatever erotic thriller Steed has picked for his
I'm excited now. I'm like, what could
number two.
what could it possibly be?
I'm genuinely excited.
Well, I keep you waiting.
Nah, go for it. Anticipation.
Again, guys, some great points. Sandy, tut, tut, tut. So my number 2 spot is Clash of the Titans, the classic.
okay.
Ray
there you go.
Harryhausen, Medusa. And stupidly, as a child, I see a pattern emerging here. I used to think the bad guy was, what's his name? Bob Dylan.
I've not seen that movie,
Yeah.
What the hell is he talking about?
Great pick.
but I do know Bob Dylan wasn't in a movie like that.
He is not in that movie.
We,
couldn't
so when
what's
we,
he talking about? Bob Dylan?
I'm trying to picture the bad guy.
I used to think that was the bad guy.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the bad guy
Stick the graphic back up, please, Gary, if
I
that's
have
all
to
right.
Google it.
in Clash of the Titans
Yeah,
looks
is there a
like.
picture of the?
Well, we might get the actor's
Medusa.
name.
I mean, all I can think of is the gods, because they're kind of like the bad guys in Clash of the Titans, and obviously the Kraken.
Because it was actually a part of that video.
Oh, that's all good. All good.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Tell you what,
yes,
the Kraken does look a little bit like Bob Dylan.
It's
We
that
kind
Kraken,
of
yeah.
did
We-
talk about this already, but
we came face to face in that Museum of Modern Art.
That's Medusa. There, that's not Bob. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The-
we came face to face with the owl from that movie, the sort of
The little
Clockwork
metal
Owl.
clockwork owl. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And that was like seeing that in the flesh was that was
That's a
amazing.
cool.
yeah.
Where did you see it?
puppet, yeah.
That was the Museum
The
of
Ray
Modern Art with
Harryhausen.
all the Ray Harryhausen stuff.
that is what sticks in my mind from that film is that
Yeah,
owl,
yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah.
Little whistling owl.
Yeah.
It's a character that just completely embeds himself. A very enchanting character.
It's like a Tinkerbell type character in
the
the story,
end-
right? It's just kind of around,
yeah,
providing
Kind of
guidance.
floats around and
yeah.
whistles.
and does lots of stop motion stuff. And at the end of that movie, where the Kraken comes out of the water, that was it filmed in Gozo. That was filmed at the Blue Hole when there was an arch, when there was a azure window, the arch.
Oh yeah.
If you watch it, you'll
Went
recognise
past
it.
on a boat trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was
Very cool. I was just in Malta, so
not just
Well,
in
that
Gozo.
is a significantly better pick than his last one.
Yeah.
oh, aye.
Yeah.
I'm so
What's the
confused now.
First pick going to be?
Oh,
I have
so
no idea.
confused.
But it ties in nicely to your pick as well,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Ray
it does.
Harryhausen and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, well
Maybe
done, well
the
done,
Kelly
Steve.
Brook film's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's put it next to Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, maybe we've not.
I don't
seen
know.
It.
I've never seen it. How can I possibly pass judgment?
I'm not gonna test it out and watch it.
Okay.
I might.
Let's do some honourable mentions. If anyone has any movies that before we get into the top 3 picks,
Yeah.
not that they're necessarily our best picks, but yeah,
I'll throw one out.
Yep.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Aye.
Yeah, it's
Which
a
was also
fantasy
your,
film.
that was your top
fantasy.
film noir as well.
Yeah, it was one of my film noirs. It came out when I googled what is a fantasy film because it is a broad spectrum, and my mum was like, "Every film's a fantasy film." I was like, "Yeah,
Just
that's
all
kind of
makes
true."
sense.
I was like, apart from documentaries, but that came up, and I was like, you know what? That's one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah.
It's I was obsessed with it as a kid, and
Yeah.
it's just
a
so
great movie.
mental.
It's a great movie, but it's one of those movies that when I watch it, I can't enjoy it as much as I would because I'm trying to think about how they fucking did it.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it is extremely well
man,
executed.
it's so painstaking.
Also,
Have you heard about
also the producing of it, like apparently like Disney to Warner Brothers
Yeah,
have
with the
exactly the same
rights
number of
and-
frames as each other
Really?
in terms of characters.
Oh
So
my
imagine
God, it's
having
like
as
The
a
Rock and Vin Diesel.
trying to
Yeah,
write
yeah,
a story
yeah.
whilst you're worrying about that kind of stuff must have been exhausting.
The
Wow.
animators have a phrase where they call it "it's knocking the lamp" or something like that, because there's a scene where Bob Hoskins is fighting with Roger and they knock this overhead lamp and it starts swinging back and forward, and it's because of all of the shadows that would cause, and because they had to do it as a practical as well, and so it's a phrase that kind of refers to animators kind of flexing, so they're doing something because
something that they
they're
didn't need to
good,
do, but-
basically.
Yeah.
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 But
no,
then
it is a great
causes a
movie.
lot of people in the back room a lot of trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I had a couple of classics. I thought I should probably mention King Kong and Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, classic.
Yeah, you love Wizard of Oz, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's my number one pick.
Oh shit.
Oh my word!
There you go.
These things happen.
Yeah, these things
So we
happen
can,
a
we,
lot when
we can
do it.
talk about it now.
It is a,
Well,
it's a
now we can go
masterpiece.
on to number
It is
one
an
pick.
actual-
I think it's
2.8 million.
at the time, which was like £40 billion or whatever. This is like pre-World War II.
Bet
you could
Judy
crowdfund
Garland
that.
didn't get that. Yeah.
It's still the way I want to make films.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about doing things like
Kill
Adrian's,
the actors with spray paint.
Yeah, yeah. Half of
Yeah.
that went- that was the
Asbestos
asbestos
sets
budget, right?
Yeah, it was.
yeah, everyone's on speed and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dream.
The
But
lead, yeah.
no, but when Adrian's talking about bringing his ideas to life in his studio, and we don't have a budget, but they're huge ideas, and I'm like, you're a painter, why don't we matte paint? Like, like that excites me, and they've done it so well back then.
Yeah.
All the
it's
way up into
incredible
Star Wars, the
achievement.
80s. Some of the films that we're talking about have got still use matte painting and all these kind of techniques, and it's just got so much heart. And the music's great. It's a musical. I'm surprised you actually like it because you hate
Didn't
musicals.
say I liked it.
Oh, did you not? You just mentioned it.
Also, every real element you have in a movie changes the experience for the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're interacting.
You know, there's that
with it.
classic anecdote of Ian McKellen crying on the set of The Hobbit because it was now a green screen rather than an actual Hobbit house.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you see things done practically, for one, it has a longer lifespan as a movie because physical exists and it always looks better. But also just for the actors. I find like that's why I like shooting on locations, is because the immersion of being there changes the chemistry in your brain whilst you're there. Whereas like when you're shooting on a green screen, which we just did recently, it's a pain in the ass for everyone
It
involved.
is a nightmare. I don't like doing it at all.
Yeah, for everyone involved, because you're constantly having to explain what's going on, and they're having to go, right?
And they just have to trust you.
Yeah.
There's been so many moments in The Good Men where I've been walking off in a glen and he'll be flying the drone somewhere. So I'll have a walkie-talkie and I know that the drone's gone up and he'll shout action, but I can't hear it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just in there on my own and I'm
Yeah.
just kind of going through the motions. And all of a sudden you're just like, this is the movie I dreamt. This is the image I had in my head when I was writing it and stuff, of just a guy kind of in all these authentic 18th century clothes, just being in this like incredible location, looking out on a landscape that hasn't changed since the period that you wrote it from. And like it's, for me, that's the opposite of the experience that they'd have had in The Hobbit and stuff like that.
Well, that's like an immersive experience where you're fully immersed in that, and you can fully embody the
You
character.
smell like the character.
Yeah.
Because I'm hiking up mountains and all this gear as well.
It really adds to it, and I think
It does.
the audience can tell. I mean, it's like what I mentioned with Chaos Rising. I feel like you can smell it. I still have memories of the way that set smelled. And
When I've got my hands on the camera as well, if I'm on location, I start to come up with ideas based on where we are as well, and being immersed in like real. I know we're derailing a little bit, but like when you physically got stuff in front of your eyes, it inspires you. It feeds the creative part of your brain, and when you strip all that away, it takes that part away, and you have to like kind of imagine it in a really porcelain environment, and it's just not.
I mean, there is, just to defend the VFX side, there is a good thing that comes with shooting something and then kind of worrying about it after the fact and sitting in it, and then you can be really creative because you've got tons of time to be able to experiment. But at the same time, when you're on set, you're going to get something organic and natural that comes with that environment and an actor interacting with it that you just wouldn't get in that other scenario.
Totally.
There's ups and downs to both sides, I think.
I'm worried about picking, revealing any more honourable mentions in case they are picks of people. So
Well, that's my pick's gone.
let's crack on.
You've robbed me of my picks. My other
Good
honourable,
pick.
My other honourable mention was Never Ending Story.
Nah,
That's dark.
kidding.
That's really dark fantasy.
Yeah, and I haven't watched it in a lot of years, but it has such a lasting impression on me.
I think for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I
one
remember.
scene-
I remember snippets of it, and it's
I'm the same.
It's always the creatures. It's like their faces and
The
things.
creatures and
I remember
horse.
the end when he's on Falcor, and I remember
On Falkor,
obviously
yes.
I can't remember the horse's
I
name.
can't remember their names.
Artex.
It's been so
also
long
the-
since I've seen it.
We had Noah Hathaway in our film Dick Dynamite as well for all of 10 frames or something.
Yeah, you
Really?
wouldn't have been happy with the frame rate.
Oh no, I remember.
no, this would have melted your brain. This would have melted your brain, the frame rate.
His line was, stick your dick in his fucking ass.
Right.
So
yes,
it's
that
in
classic line.
the hangar where they're fighting, he's just one of the cutaways.
One of the cutaways, right? Yes.
But
I wondered that one.
Yeah.
should I reveal the thing about the frame rate?
What was the frame rate?
No, there was a frame rate issue.
Yeah, I think it was just.
It was shot.
on a
It
phone
was
or
shot on a
something.
green screen in America and then just shipped over
did
to
they
us.
shoot?
Yeah.
What
But I
did
think they shot with a really high shutter speed, or the wrong frame
I'm
rate.
not sure what
It
happened.
was one of the two, but it doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of looks a bit crazy. But he's in the film and it's on the poster.
He almost.
Star power.
Yeah, and it's on IMDb and everything. So.
He almost had a bigger role as well, because he was going to come across and be the torturer.
Of course.
because it was Comic-Con was happening.
We hooked up with him at Comic Con. He's such a nice guy.
All
He's
right.
so sound. Yeah.
But this was the Comic-Con that was happening during COVID, and it got cancelled, and so Steed had to change his plans.
But we did eventually meet up with him at Comic Con,
Right.
and it was kind of nuts, like, because he was next to a giant falcor, like a huge, massive dog, and he's just sitting there signing autographs, and I'm thinking, that film came out like 32 years ago, and you're like, that's still happening. Like, the
riding
hype
his
train,
dragon life.
in
Yeah.
those
the
comic
hype
cons.
train is just like full speed,
Nice.
steaming ahead. So yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to
worthy
Noah.
of
He's-
an honourable mention.
That is
Yeah.
an honourable mention.
Noah,
That's good.
Noah's a
Set that guy up
gentleman.
for life.
And I think that's the great thing about practical effects as well, because you actually get products that cause comic cons. to
Exactly.
happen.
You can have a thing
Yeah.
there that people can look at and touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. If they pay enough.
Merch.
Merch.
Real
So
asbestos snow.
Real, get that Wizard of Oz snow.
We had to CGI ours. It was rubbish.
Let's throw caution to the wind then and get another couple of picks. Just said the honourable mentions. I mean, I had this might be controversial. Stardust.
Oh, I love Stardust.
Oh, Say Stardust.
In fact, I want to put that on my top 3.
Yeah,
Oh, you can.
it's a very it's a kind of classically romantic fantasy
it's
adventure
great. Yeah.
film.
It's really good.
Yeah, and a great soundtrack, great cast. I mean, the cast is phenomenal.
Amazing cast.
Captain.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it
De
is,
Niro,
yeah.
That's another film that subverted expectations for me. Went in not knowing much about it. I looked at the poster, thought it looked a bit crap, to be honest. And I think I went to see it with my folks or something. Someone had made me go to see it, and I was like, whatever, Stardust just looks like it's going to be some shit fantasy. And walked away going, I fucking love that. I was like, I will watch that over and over
Matthew
again.
Vaughn, man.
Lots of
I didn't
lots of
know
nice Scottish
know him
scenery as well.
at the
Have you
time.
seen it?
No, I've not seen it.
Loads of.
Are you
Scottish
saying they
scenery.
filmed at the Old Man of Star? Is that
I'm
one?
not sure, but they filmed in Applecross where there's like big cliffs and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's an airship going up, and
Henry Cavill's in it.
Henry Cavill
Henry
is in it,
Cavill.
yeah. And
I didn't know it was
Charlie
Henry Cavill.
Cox as well. Charlie Cox.
Yeah,
Charlie Cox.
I knew it was Charlie Cox because he's the main character, but the Henry Cavill role
Yeah.
like went over my head because Cavill kind of blew up way after that
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
And it was
Also,
only when I
he's
was
very
rewatching it recently.
Cavill in it because
Yeah.
he's playing a real kind of dick.
He's blonde and he's got blonde
Yeah.
mustache and
Yeah.
stuff, so it's like
Yeah.
it's a bit of a sneaky. Well, it's not a cameo because he's not big yet, but
Yeah.
I think Superman's after that. But
Oh, yeah, it was. This
Yeah.
was like one. I wasn't.
it's one of his first
Early
roles.
roles,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there's other ones here I will mention if other people don't. Good. Oh yeah, of course. We've got Steed live in Brazil with some honourable mentions.
How are we doing for time? Because we're honourably mentioning
Yeah,
every
we better,
film.
we better get. Yeah.
I want to see what he has to say though.
So worthy of its own honourable mention in its own right is the movie Crow. Got echo from the car
Crow.
park there. I like that. Did you? Very good. Yeah, Crow. You've got a young Liam Neeson. You've got Robbie Coltrane, not my namesake. My namesake comes from a Martin Scorsese movie. Thank you very much. Crow, the weapon in it, and just everybody in the early 80s just thought it was fucking rad. If you were there, you saw Crow, it was the boss. If you saw it in the video shops, it's fucking amazing. Check it out.
There you go.
I don't even think I've
great.
seen Crawl.
I have not seen Crawl. I know of it.
It's on my radar, but yeah, he's
seen
really selling it. I didn't know Liam Neeson was in it.
Well,
Interesting.
there you go. That's an Excalibur connection there. He was in Excalibur.
Yeah.
And then Crawl.
Segue.
yeah.
That's one of my honourable mentions was Excalibur to
Right,
kind of
yeah.
tie in with
Of
that.
course, yeah.
I mean, what a crazy movie. But I should probably check out Crawl.
So Excalibur was picked by, it was one of our lucky dips, and I think Adrian picked it for Steed. Well, he didn't pick it for Steed. Steed was the one that ended up with it, and I think Steed was like, "What the fuck is this?" Because
We watched it recently. We only watched it last year.
I watched it for the first time last year, so I can understand why it was like massive and classic at the time it came out. But if you watch it right now, having not seen it before, it's one of the most batshit films you could ever
It
watch.
is insane.
Yeah, that's what I got from it.
It's
It
it's
looks
just-
great though. Like the visuals, the cinematography
Yeah.
is fantastic.
It's
but
a
the
beautiful film.
storytelling
Yeah.
and the pacing is so inconsistent and all over the place. We were just sitting there in amazement about what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, there's so much screaming. There's so much screaming. I'm pretty sure
Screaming
the
the
mics
movie.
are maxing out throughout 90% of the
And
movie.
the weird thing is, it's like big actors. You've got Liam
Yeah.
Neeson, Helen Mirren, Patrick Stewart turns up. What's Gabriel Byrne?
Oh, yeah.
And they turn up in tiny roles, and it's just them yelling.
And
And it's just them screaming at the top of their
there's
lungs.
there's certain points I had to rewind and go, wait, watch that again. And it's these big scenes with all the horses, and there's just, I'm sure they broke a lot of health safety rules in that
without a
movie because
doubt.
there's just
Without
horses
a
like
doubt.
clashing into each other in the background.
Smashing into each other, falling over, somebody else shouting, and then immediately cuts to like a happy little like jaunty tune,
Yeah.
and then back to screaming. It's insane.
And there's a bit where he
Definitely
like
check it out.
he like RKO's a guy. He jumps from a castle wall. he like jumps all the way down like this from this castle wall and like grabs a guy off his horse, and the way it cuts together is amazing.
I'm noticed we're more enthusiastic about Excalibur than we have been about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Oh,
It's so bizarre.
Well, let's
an
crack
experience.
on. We probably won't get Steed's last two honourable mentions because we're running short of time. But let's get our top picks, and then we'll get Steed's top pick, and then we'll maybe escape unscathed. So, Charlie.
So this is pick number 3.
Yeah.
Cool. So I chose.
Keep saying top pick.
Or is it number 1?
Yeah.
Is
Was
it
it in
my
order?
favourite?
I didn't do it in
Is it
order.
in
I
order?
just.
It
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
they're all great.
This one is my favourite, so it works. A Knight's Tale.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I love that film.
And
Knight's Tale's good.
it's probably in my top 3 favourite films altogether.
It's such a good film.
I watch it once a year because it's just it's a movie that broke convention and no one ever did it since. It's kind of a one of a kind. It's medieval mixed with kind of modern music.
Yeah.
Modern music, fun,
Yeah, and it's
entertaining, great acting.
technically
Yeah,
a
great
sports
characters,
film.
yeah.
I hate
Yeah,
sports.
Yeah, it's like
And
an
technically
underdog
a sports film.
movie. Yeah.
And that's how the director pitched it. He said he's pitching it as a sports movie that takes place medieval times. That's why he collided modern day influences
Yeah,
with it, so it could feel like a sports movie. Apparently, that was the reasoning for it.
It totally works. But I think the director didn't he just loved jousting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he just loved this time, and he just turned up.
He came out
made this
out of
movie,
nowhere, made it,
and then he went away. I
disappeared.
don't know if he's made anything
Oh, really?
since. I
Yeah, he
don't
came
know.
and made the perfect movie disappear. I think he was something else in the industry before and after.
Maybe.
I've watched it behind the scenes. I
But
can't
yeah,
quite
just
remember.
came out
but
of nowhere, made this as
Yeah.
his first film,
made the perfect
knocked
film
out of the park.
and left. That's
a great
another.
movie.
That's another thing. I've got like a small list. I won't bother going through them, but I've got a small list of films that I would call a perfect movie, and that is what I describe a perfect movie as something where I'm never losing attention from the film and I'm loving it from the first minute to the last. Knight's Tale is definitely one of those movies for me where every time and I've watched it so many times, every single time I'm engrossed from beginning to the end shot and I'm like, that was perfect.
Same. Anytime it comes up and I get to watch it again, I don't think I watched that too recently
Yeah,
to watch
yeah,
it again.
exactly.
And I just
Keep-
watch it
exactly.
again.
Yeah,
It's a good movie.
And Shannon Sossamon, is that her name? Shannon
that's is that the I don't know. Is that
the
the
princess.
yeah, the
Yeah.
princess.
The
She's
love-
not really
the
been
love
in that
and
much.
Is that her
Cheers.
name? Oh, okay.
She's not been in
Yeah,
that much.
yeah.
She was in a bunch
She's
of
all
things
right.
at that time.
At that
Yeah,
time, she was
yeah,
in
yeah.
like what was that thing with Josh Hartnett?
40 Days and Nights.
Yeah,
or
she was in
something.
that. And,
She's in a film called Rules of Attraction.
Yeah, that's the
I,
one I was
I love
thinking
that
of.
film
There's
as well.
another film with the same cast, and it was called The Sin Eater.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
interesting.
yeah, who's in that again?
Heath Ledger was the main priest.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And she was the love interest.
Yeah, that's
I didn't know
right.
that. That's interesting.
And then you had the other guy, the bigger guy.
Mark Addy.
I'm not 100% sure of his name, but he was definitely in it as well.
Anyway,
No.
the what I think there's a theme in the movies that I love is that they tend to be ensemble movies because
Yeah.
D&D is very much the same where
Yeah.
there is a main character,
supporting
but there's no main character at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Pirates of the Caribbean, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean, they're
Pirates of
all
the Caribbean, yeah.
ensemble
Yeah, in fact,
troupe.
fantasy kind of goes down that route a lot, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Where
the band of-
it follows the ensemble
Yeah.
cast choice
Yeah.
because it's just there's so many interesting stories to tell, so you tell them all together. I think Knight's Tale just weaves them so perfectly, where everyone kind of has their bit to add to the
Their
story.
moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
Great choice.
All right, Jack.
So my last pick is Sleepy Hollow.
Oh,
Tim
another good
Burton movie.
film.
I think it's one of the movies that.
would be raging.
Jade would hate that pick.
Really, do you not like Sleepy Hollow?
Doesn't like Tim Burton.
This is the thing about Tim Burton. Like, this is the least Tim Burton.
Yeah, I'd
movie,
agree with that,
But
yeah.
it's my favorite Tim Burton movie.
It's
Yeah.
DP'd by Shivo.
It is
Is it?
Shivo,
Wow.
and it is some of the best cinematography
It's beautiful.
I have ever seen. I don't think there's another film that looks like this.
Yeah.
Hmm?
DP.
Yeah, that's not the best term, is it? It's director of
Director
photography.
of
the person who was behind the camera
Emmanuel
team.
Lebesky, aka Chivo.
Probably
But-
the best cinematographer of
Yes.
all time. I think.
He's my favorite
Everything okay?
cinematographer.
Get a wee bit of crackle.
All right. So cinematographer that's responsible for Children of Men, The Revenant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the best films.
Director of photography.
Director,
The
of
director of
photography.
photography, yes.
Never used DP.
So he director of photographied it.
Save that for Steed's picks. But no, it's such a good movie, and I think it just captures that element of like gothic ghost stories and fantasy that it just brings me back to being a kid reading like a ghost story book under the covers, just imagine all these creepy, almost like Tam O'Shanter and things like that. It really captures that essence of a story.
Definitely.
It's also just generally scary. Like,
it is.
It's scary.
As movies go, like that Headless Horseman, just the image of it is.
Yeah.
It's
terrifying.
scary. Christopher Walken is the Hessian, but it's creepy, but there's also so much humor in it as well.
Yeah.
And it's one of the movies that made me want to do visual effects. Again, I watched the BTS, and it's how they're chopping off heads. I think it's Ray Park,
right,
Darth Maul. I think he's the Headless
really?
Horseman.
Wow.
And,
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And it just blew my mind, and I was like, I'm going to go and chop off heads. And I did. I chopped off my own head, frame by frame, in Photoshop.
I'm pretty sure I tried to do like an outfit like that for Halloween once. A failed attempt.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it falls into fantasy. It's horror, but it's definitely one of the most influential films for me. So yeah.
Another brilliant pick.
And we've had your Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's go over to Steed. Let's get
What could this
live
pick be?
from Brazil.
Is that pick number one?
Yeah.
Right.
So is this actually his favorite fantasy
Yeah, I
movie,
think
right?
he's listed it as his number one. Yeah.
So when it comes to my number one spot, I get asked often, quite a lot, same as often, what my favorite film of all time is. And it always changes. But I've been really trying to think about it if I could choose just one. And I think this might be it. So not only is it my number one for a fantasy film, but it's also my number one of all time. Because it's got everything. Colors, beautiful. Amazing music. And of course, the special effects by Ray Harryhausen. None other than Jason and the Argonauts. Unbelievable
there you
special
go.
effects. Way ahead of its time. The classic scenes, the teeth of the Hydra, the children of Hydra, the skeletons, and how they did those battles. They look intense, and how they achieved that, it's just incredible. So I'm sure it's on your guys' list too, but here I am in Montevideo, and quite apt, because I do like a bit of a Montevideo, and it's good that we're talking about videos. So yeah, peace out.
No,
I didn't expect that.
Since you have already discussed that one,
Yep.
would you like to hear
Yeah, let's get the
other
honourable mentions.
Let's do the
Making me
honourable
miss Steed now.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
I think the first film might have been a misdirect now. I hope so anyway.
So you want to hear honourable mentions?
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
listen to Steed's honourable mentions.
Yeah. Let's give him the airtime.
I have to say, guys, there's some amazing points being made, some not so much.
Is that a hint right there?
Can't disagree more, in fact. So, some honourable mentions are Masters of the Universe. Went to the cinema
great
twice
shout.
to see it. Loved it.
I loved that film.
Does it fall into the sci-fi category? Fantasy? Because there's a bit of sci-fi element to it, you know, with the Star Wars rip-off music, laser beams and all that stuff. So yeah, there's one for me. He-Man, Masters of the Universe. What else have we got? Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, although last time I watched it with Sandy and his brother, they found some flaws in it and didn't like it so much.
Yeah.
And then
It's a
watching it myself, it was like, it could have flowed a bit better. Why did he go to the bad guys, then come back and then go back? It could have flowed a bit better if they just did it all in one scene. But and also a family friend of ours, growing up, he named his kid Conan, and he wasn't the most well-behaved child, so he earned the nickname Conan the Bad Baron. There you go. There's a little plug for you. What else we got? The Beastmaster. Beastmaster. Loved that growing up. Real animals. You probably couldn't do that now. and stupid, foolish me as a young child cutting about Kirkcaldy and also seeing Graham Scott, the master, Scotty, the Duke of Kirkcaldy himself, cutting about Kirkcaldy. Stupidly, I thought he was the same actor that played the Beastmaster. And who would have thought? And then years later, working with him with Everything I Do.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, Beastmaster, good pick.
Masters of the Universe as well.
I thought we might get stuff like Hawk the Slayer, Beastmaster,
I'm
Conan the
seeing a
Barbarian.
trend here, a lot 80s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
dark fantasy.
Which is the,
Well,
the category I haven't watched a lot of.
Yeah, before
we're getting into it though. We started with Excalibur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's all downhill
I'm
from
starting
there.
to binge it at the moment.
It's all downhill. But I think today's winner is Ray Harryhausen, if anything.
Yeah.
He's,
definitely.
he's come up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my other ones that I was worried that someone would have on their list were things like Highlander and
Oh, yeah.
Labyrinth as well.
Highlander's another film that I feel was just chaos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really, you
these are
don't
all
like it.
quite chaotic movies.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I wouldn't go that far. It's not Conan to me.
There's
Yeah,
bizarre
but-
choices in all these movies.
Aye, it's utterly mental.
Conan especially.
I don't know that it is that mental.
It's wild.
Highlander,
It's pretty
I watched it.
Other than the cast.
I mean,
watched-
Christopher Lambert,
Yeah.
that's about as mental as it
Sean
gets.
I
Connery
watched
playing a
Highlander for the
Spaniard?
first time recently as well. And if you watch it now after seeing everything else
That's
you've
it.
seen
That's
until today, it is absolutely
Yeah,
hysterically
it's
mental.
batshit.
It's over the top. And the soundtrack and everything
There's
is
a
crazy.
shot of the guy in the car park and he's just backflipping for no reason, and then it
Oh,
cuts
yeah.
back and he's just
backflips,
standing
'cause
there,
it's
and then
quick.
it cuts and he's backflipping again, and it cuts.
That was the
and he's
era, man. People were doing
Yeah.
backflips all over
yeah,
the
it's
place.
so
no,
quick.
but the way it cuts with the rest of it is just so odd. He's doing that. He's doing this full somersault, and it cuts, and he's
Aye.
just stood there, and then it cuts
There's,
back, and he's
there's
doing
mad
it.
edits. The whole thing's OTT. Sean Connery's playing a Spaniard, but he's not really. He's
in
just
a
doing
Scottish accent.
himself.
It's about a Scotsman, and they get a
Scottish
Scotsman to play
Spaniard.
not a
Yeah,
Scotsman.
yeah, and a French guy or whatever, Czech guy to.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, I'm glad I didn't bring up Highlander because
Yeah.
you've all said
But
some
it was,
upset.
it was a moment in
Listen,
time
look,
film.
Clancy Brown,
Yeah,
he's
Ah,
fantastic.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
doing his own
Kurgan-
accent. He's doing his
Kurgan's
own
awesome,
thing.
yeah.
He's great.
I enjoyed the Kurgan
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that you got your generation. No offense. Yous were there. Yous. Sorry, go on.
This is
we were
kind of-
there.
This is on
I am
topic.
immortal.
Christopher Lambert, and it was a fantasy film that we all watched. That
Oh
was
yeah, it
absolutely-
was like Beowulf.
yeah,
It was like a
completely
Beowulf
dog
and
shit.
Grendel movie with it was absolutely it was dog shit. That came out in like the late 90s. I've totally forgotten it.
Not with Jared Butler.
No.
It was Chris Lambert.
Chris
was
Lambert
the star again.
But it was like Mad Max. It's clearly they wanted to do a Mad Max movie, but they based it on Beowulf. I can't even remember how that played into it.
Weird.
Yeah.
But he was meant to be
also
Beowulf in a
Raiden.
post-apocalyptic.
He was also Raiden in Mortal Kombat
Mortal
film,
Kombat,
which
yeah.
is a fantasy film.
Yeah.
Those are awful.
Yeah, I have good memories of it, but I was a kid. So,
Yeah.
what's your number one pick, Ian?
Well, we've had it. It was. Oh no, we haven't.
Oh.
Yeah. So my number one. I nearly did myself out a number one pick there. This was the first film I thought of when I thought fantasy films, and it's because, like you said, it's such a broad genre. You think of like sword and sorcery and stuff like that, but for me, I just think of like these just incredibly wacky films that can't be anything other than fantasy. It can't be anything other than someone's fantasy. So it was The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh, cool.
Terry Gilliam.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a chaotic movie.
Yes, yeah. Well, it was a chaotic production as well. It was.
I can imagine.
It was all over the place apparently for a variety of reasons. But
Oh yeah.
there was a lot of pyrotechnics going off where there shouldn't have been, and yeah, there was kind of it opened. as
Uma
well.
Thurman.
Yeah, Uma Thurman. When she was 17, played Venus, the object of everyone's desire. But Oliver Reed steals the show, in my opinion. Like you've got
He always does,
Robin
doesn't he?
Williams as well, but Oliver Reed is absolutely phenomenal in that film.
He's unreal.
Yeah, he's
in
just big.
general.
He plays Vulcan, and he's just got this Sheffield accent. He's like,
Probably
and
steaming drunk as
scene,
well.
yeah, he looks like he's about to have a heart attack. Yeah,
Because it probably is.
Yeah, he probably was.
yeah.
And then they had to CGI him for the rest of the movie. Oh no, that was Gladiator. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it. Not when I first saw it. When I first saw it, I remember like I had a kids party when I was like 12 or something like that when it first came out, and we rented it from the video shop. So I sat down with all my friends to watch this movie, and within about half an hour, everyone was just like,
What is
go and
this?
do something else. So we all left the TV one
Yeah.
by one and just started playing somewhere in the back of the house. And I never got to the end of it. I just remember like it was just incoherent. to me
Yeah,
as a
it's
kid.
one of
It's
those movies
chaotic.
when you're a kid. I think I did the same thing where I either
Classic
fell
Terry
asleep or
Gilliam,
just
though.
went,
Yeah.
what's happening?
Yeah.
But if you watch it, as an adult and try and kind of invest a bit more in the story and the characters and it's got a real enchanting kind of thing about it, because like from the music to the performances, the characters, I love it. I think it's
utterly
tremendous
bonkers,
film.
but it's good bonkers. I think.
So that classic Monty Python, Terry Gilliam,
Yeah.
floating heads and animation.
Can I chuck a
style.
little honourable mention on that topic? Is
Yeah.
Time Bandits,
Oh yeah, there you go.
which is
Yeah.
also Terry Gilliam, obviously.
Pirates.
quality film.
Which was a great film.
Well, I feel like we need to wrap this up, and it's about this sort of time that I started thinking about what can I say to sum all this up, and then I remember we've got Steed live in Brazil.
So you've heard of the Count Monte Cristo. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Count of Montevideo. So I'd like to thank our viewers today for checking out this episode of Square Go Podcast, our fantasy special, where it's such esteemed guests such as Jack Fox, and Charlie Parker, not the jazz player. And we'd like to thank our sponsors for today, Ming Sang and The Spice of Life. And also, if you'd like to catch a taxi within the Kirkcaldy area, you can call on Kirkcaldy Cabs, 654 100. Don't forget the 01592.
I think we should just end there.
Yeah, well, thank our guests for joining us. But
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, I guess.